Good afternoon and welcome back. I think today's forecast is actually going to be pretty interesting. Not for anything that's going to happen today, but for what we're going to talk about in the short-term future. So, starting where we typically start with our 500 millibar charts. And again, the overall pattern hasn't really changed much. We have this big trough that is kind of in the eastern US now and still has influence over much of the continental United States. We have the ridge that we talked about yesterday still off to the west, and it really hasn't moved much. It's not in a hurry. The trough isn't in not much of a hurry either. That's why this general pattern has pretty much stayed the same the last few days. But it is moving ever so slowly. But that has allowed several of these shortwave troughs, these mini little troughs, to develop and continuously move down through our area. That is why we've had some less boring weather the last few days and why that will continue to be the case. You can see this little mini feature in northern Minnesota, moving into Wisconsin and the Upper Peninsula, and then eventually into the Lower Peninsula as we go through the day tomorrow. Now, this system I don't think is going to cause huge problems for our area. It is going to bring precipitation. I do not think we will have much snow accumulation. There could be some wintry mix that could cause some slight travel problems, but we will look into that more later. What could be really interesting is this next shortwave trough, this next mini trough that develops pretty much in the same area and then moves towards Michigan Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. This could be a problem. There are a lot of question marks about this system, though, and we will get into that later. Now, let's zoom in and just look at temperature. So today, we're likely to see a high in the low to mid-20s, which, not terrible. Definitely much warmer than it was this morning, that's for sure. The low tonight would likely dip into the low to mid-teens. Again, definitely warmer than last night and into this morning, so if you don't like the cold, that's an improvement for you. As we head into the day tomorrow, things will get warmer. We are likely to see temperatures in the upper 20s, maybe even reaching 30. And as we head into tomorrow night, things will actually continue to get warmer as that surface low as a surface low develops off to our northwest in association with that upper level trough and begins to move down into our area. And as that surface low moves down towards our area, it will pull warm, moist air from areas farther south up into our area. So that is actually going to be a key point with this system and is part of the big question mark as to how impactful that is going to be to us. Now let's take a look at the wind. I kind of have an idea of what this might look like. I'm going to take a guess before I move it through. I actually haven't looked at this yet. I think we're probably going to see some slight increases in wind through Tuesday as that little mini trough comes through, and then as that big surface low moves towards our area near the end of the forecast period, we're probably going to see some increasing winds. So let's take a look. Yep, we do have some increasing winds on Tuesday morning. Probably around 15 mile per hour sustained winds. And then as that surface low comes in, we are starting to see some of those blue colors creep into the area. So that would be closer to 20 miles per hour. And let's take a look at wind gusts. So tomorrow we could possibly see some gusts up to 30 miles per hour. Actually, maybe even up to 35, 40 range. And as that surface low comes in, yeah. That makes sense. There are some 40s down here, even a little higher, 50s in Indiana. Those could possibly reach their way into our region. We'll just have to keep an eye on that and see if that really does come to fruition. So now let's take a look at the precipitation type and rate. So we head into tomorrow morning. We do see some snow in association with that small shortwave trough on Tuesday move into the area. Again, not going to be significant snow, at least I don't think so. And it will kind of be the system will be hanging around for much of the day, but in the Lansing area, it's really only going to be a problem in the morning hours. It's going to be in and out for us. At least that's what it seems like. And given the temperature, that is going to be what determines if it's rain, snow, a mix. If the temperatures stay just below freezing, it'll be likely snow for us. If they're right around freezing, we're probably going to see a mix. And of course, above freezing, we will see some rain. So it really just depends on what the high temperature ends up being to determine if it's going to be mainly snow, rain, etc. But even then, it does not look like it is going to be a major event. I think even if it is all snow, I think we would be lucky if we even got half an inch. So not going to be a major snow event. As we move on, however, though, the system that'll be coming in Wednesday or Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, that could be a much different story. And again, this is all going to depend on the positioning of that surface low pressure. Because as that surface low pressure pulls warmer, more moist air up, if that air gets too warm, we'll get rain instead of snow. But if we're just above that freezing line, just north of that freezing line, we'll still be getting some of that moisture that's being pulled up, but it will be snow instead of rain. So if we're just above that line, we're going to be getting a lot of snow, which is what you see here in this darker blue that is just above the green, which represents, the green represents rain, the blue represents snow, and that darker area is where you see those heavier precipitation amounts. So if this surface low, which in this case is kind of just over Lake Michigan here, and should move to the southeast across Grand Rapids, Lansing, Detroit line, which I'm pretty sure I could just say that's the I-96 corridor there. If it goes down that way, that is the way I think it is currently going to go. That is going to make it a very tough call for our forecast, I think, because we could be just above that rain snow line, we could be just below it. It makes for a really difficult forecast. If we are just above that line, we could be looking at several inches, 4, 5, maybe even 6. If we're just below that line, we might not get much snow at all. So it's pretty complicated. And I think, personally, at this moment, and this could likely change, and it probably will change as the event goes on, at this moment, I'm thinking we might be just to the north of that line. And my reasoning for that actually takes us back to this chart. So, this chart also shows the wind. That's what all these colors are. It's the wind at that 500 millibar level, which is the jet stream. Little hiccup there, excuse me. Bigger hiccups there. Excuse me. And these pinks, reds, and oranges are where you have stronger winds. And so the wind is going from the northwest to the southeast and then around this trough back to the northeast. And so it enters from the west. And so that is the entrance region of the jet. And it exits to the east. And so this eastern part is the exit region. Here in Michigan and Lake Michigan and southeastern Wisconsin, we are in what's called the left exit region. And in the left exit region of a jet is where you see diverging air aloft, and thus you actually have rising motion. And because air is being evacuated at the upper levels, it is diverging away, you have a low pressure develop. And so typically, we would actually see that surface low pressure develop in the left exit region of a jet. And this left exit region appears to be translating to the southeast. And so if we kind of try to imagine where this would go, oh, we got new frames. Awesome. We don't really have to imagine. It does kind of seem like that is going to trail again from Grand Rapids to Lansing to Detroit. So I think that is going to be where the surface low goes as of now, but that could change as soon as later tonight. So I will keep an eye on this, and I will even post an extra video on this topic if I feel it is necessary, if things have drastically changed. Don't just take my word for it, though. We can look at the probabilistic snowfall forecast from the National Weather Service. And again, we can look at that low-end amount of snowfall. So there's only about a 1 in 10 chance of us having this snowfall or less. And here we would only have a trace, hardly anything at all. If we go to the high-end amount, where we only have a 1 in 10 chance of getting this or more, Lansing is right on the edge of that 5 to 6 inch line. And personally, I think that the high-end amount could actually be a little bit higher than this, but this is the official forecast, so trust this over me. Or not forecast, but high-end forecast. The official actual forecast is on a much larger range, with us having 1/2 inch to 4 inches. And the reason they have that large range is because of the uncertainty of where that surface low is going to travel. If that surface low travels a little bit farther to the north and we end up with mainly rain, we're going to have this scenario. If the surface low travels a bit farther south and we get that heavy snow band, we're going to end up closer to this scenario. So it's really going to come down to the wire. We're probably not going to have an amazing picture of what's exactly going to happen until right up before the event. So please keep an eye on this. And if someone's telling you that they know exactly what's going to happen, they don't. They're wrong. Let's do one last thing here before we wrap up this video. So let's take a look at some different models for possible snow totals for both tomorrow's system and the larger system coming in tomorrow night into Wednesday. So the GFS is actually on the higher end for tomorrow's scenario with 1.5 to 2 inches. And the GFS is also more southerly with that surface low later on, which results in us having a total of 7.5 to 8 inches between now and Wednesday night. So I think that is the high-end scenario. If we go to the NAM, it really actually shows a pretty similar scenario for the storm Tuesday, or tomorrow, I should say, about 2 inches. So maybe I have to walk back my statement about not expecting much from Tuesday's system. Maybe it's going to be more significant than I expect. And this does show the more northerly scenario for the surface low, in which we only get another 2 inches on top of the 2 from Tuesday. And it shows the heavier totals farther to our north. If we go to the GDPS, which is a Canadian model, excuse me, it also kind of shows about 1 inch for Tuesday's event, and then, excuse me, maybe 2.5, 3 more inches from, wow, these hiccups, the next event. So it is also kind of on the lower end scenario for the Wednesday event, maybe slightly more on northerly low track. If we go to the short-term models, the HRRR is completely not sold on us getting anything tomorrow. And it isn't quite in full range of the Wednesday event, but it does look like it is on the more northerly track, with us only getting about 1 inch of snow. And the NAM, a more high-resolution version of the NAM, is actually showing pretty decent snowfall. I shouldn't say significant, but decent, about 2.5 inches for the Tuesday event, and a decent amount for the Wednesday event. So maybe we're like right on that rain snow line, giving us about a total of 6 for the both events combined. So that's where I'm going to leave it for today, and I hope to see you tomorrow.